Welcome back, everyone. So, a pretty interesting reflection on the pros and cons of remote working, depending on your type of business, your type of work. And yeah, some of the IT workers working for different IT companies in Korea, they've been understandably stressed out by this. They were one of the first industries to go remote, I guess because it was just so easy for them to change their working practice when the pandemic first began. It has then continued throughout the entirety of the pandemic because, again, it was quite an easy policy to implement. But now it's beginning to roll back in some companies. Kakao in particular, they ended their remote working policy in this month, March 23. But it's not been pleasing to everyone. You know, many of the Kakao workers are asking, why? Why do we need to come back into the office? Why should we pay astronomical prices, you know, on our commute and paying for lunch every day outside the house? Why should we sardine ourselves into little office cubicles once more? This is more of a nuisance than a productive help. So some people have even gone so far as to quit their job, to find a different job because of the enforced return to the office. This has caused some discussion on whether or not remote working could actually be better in some industries. Surely it brings down costs for the company themselves. They don't have to pay for office space and maintain a large bank of computers and equipment, pay the massive electricity bills that are around these days. So maybe they could find a middle ground that benefits both the workers and the company. What do you think about Kakao's decision? Do you agree that they should end their work from home policy or should they return to remote work?
I think on the surface, I wouldn't agree. But thinking more about the labor laws in Korea, I can understand a little bit why they would do this. If they were able to get rid of slackers in an easier manner, I think remote work would be no problem, because the only problem remote work has is those people who might take advantage of it to do their daily life or to do other things during work hours, causing productivity dips. I think if the system was merit-based rather than hourly-based, it would make more sense for remote work. And so if they saw a drop in productivity, they would say like, hey, maybe you're just not cut out for remote work and either you need to come in or you need to be fired, right? But unfortunately, it's very hard to fire people. Depending on the contract, it's very hard to fire people. And so I think that's one reason they want to have people back, is so that they can monitor them to keep the productivity up, because they know that letting them go is not an option.
I see. There was perhaps too many people sleeping on the job?
Literally, sometimes.
I see. Well, that does make kind of good sense. If it's not targets or goal-based oriented work, then how do you measure productivity without literally being there and watching? What are the advantages and disadvantages of commuting to work, especially in countries like South Korea? I instantly want to say, there's no advantages to commuting.
Yeah.
But I think if you really think about it, maybe there are.
Oh, well, now you've put me on the spot, because you said if you really think about it. So if I can't think of it, it means I can't think well.
No.
Number one I thought of was South Korea has a wonderful commuting system. Very easy, very convenient. However, that's not quite an advantage. It's more like less disadvantage than other parts of the world. The advantages of commuting, I guess you do save money if you were already going to be driving. But versus remote work, I might have to defer to you.
Well, the one thing, because I used to have a super long commute, which I did really hate at first, but I tried to think, what can I use this time for? Again, if I'd been driving, I couldn't have done this, but because the subway system is really good, I was spending an hour on the subway, essentially just sitting there doing nothing. And so I read some books on how to sleep better and better health and better productivity and so on. And one of the big tips that kept coming up again and again was get up a little bit earlier and spend 15 to 30 minutes meditating or in listening to quiet music and clearing the mind before you start doing anything. And so I picked up some meditation music or guided meditations on my iPhone, plugged in the headphones so I couldn't hear the noise from around, and would sit there and meditate for my 50-minute journey. Wow. And I really did feel the benefit. And if I hadn't had to commute, I would probably just say to myself, oh, I'll just sleep, that extra little bit. But it forced me to get into that habit and that routine. And I found it actually really beneficial.
Look at you being efficient and yet healthy, mentally healthy.
I think it really did make a difference.
I've never thought about that. Usually I'm a podcaster.
Or podcasts.
Or, I'm sorry, listening to podcasts. I don't podcast. As someone who listens to podcasts, got it.
Yeah, I think when else in my day would I sit down and listen to an informative radio show or actually meditate? I'd always end up skipping it and think, oh, I've got other things I need to be doing.
Exactly.
But I couldn't do anything else on the subway.
Except sit and listen to the meditation music. I bet that does help on the commute, though, meditation. Don't fight the person next to you, manspreading. Don't fight the person next to you, manspreading.
I guess I was lucky that it was so early in the morning. Actually, the subways weren't busy or annoying. I might have felt different if it was rush hour.
Yeah, it's hard to meditate when people are literally squishing you.
Yes. What a nuisance.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got some fantastic words. Maybe you could meditate on them on your morning commute tomorrow.
Yes.
There's an idea. Anyway, I hope you enjoy checking them out and learning them and using them in your everyday life. See you in the next article. Bye-bye.
Laud.
Lord.
Renege.
Renege.
Astronomical.
Astronomical.
Slog.
Slog.
Nuisance.
Nuisance.